April of 1989 was apparently Dragon Month for Namco. They released 2 games with Dragon in the title that month, and even ran ads for both of them together. Of course, as games, they couldn't be more different. Dragon Spirit technically is a port of Namco's arcade shoot-'em-up. The fantasy theme and the life bar made it stand out in arcades. I said technically, because while the Famicom version follows the gameplay and stages of the arcade, the storyline is actually a sequel. The box and title screen have the subtitle Arata Naru Densetsu, and the US version's subtitle of A New Legend is a good translation of that. The story here is that you're the son of the hero from the original arcade version of Dragon Spirit, and a generation after your father defeated evil, evil has come back again, and they've kidnapped your girlfriend, just like they did with your father. And so you'll have to go through the same 9 stages that your father did in order to save her. The other major change for the Famicom version from the arcade is the addition of a prologue. On this short stage, all of the enemies drop power-ups, and you go through a short segment of them and then fight the boss of the arcade game. They're much easier in this Prologue chapter than in the original. If you can beat the prologue without dying, then you start in Blue Dragon mode. On the other hand, if you die, then it was all a dream, and you start in Gold Dragon mode. Gold Dragon mode gives you additional firepower, your weapons auto-fire, and overall it's a much easier experience. It also only lets you play through about half the stages and you get a bad ending. So I'd recommend avoiding Gold Dragon mode altogether and just playing on Blue Dragon mode. Similar to Namco's own Xevious, Dragon Spirit utilizes separate air and ground attacks. The A button spits fire out in front of you, while the B button shoots a bomb toward the ground. At some points while playing, I had a problem telling what were aerial targets and what were ground targets. The best way to handle it is to shoot your aerial attack and watch for the shots to plink off of it. There is an issue where you can only have so many shots on screen at a time, and so if you're trying to switch between ground and air attacks, one set of those might not go off. There's also multiple levels of terrain, and you can get hurt by flying into sharp edges that are high up. On this stage, it's a particular risk as the edges of the canyon move in and out around you. It's an effect that's really hard to do on the Famicom, so it's impressive that it pulled it off this well. You also have to be aware of the sharp edges in these ice canyons, and on the final stage you could get trapped in a dead end in this maze. The stages are all scaled down from the arcade version, but I found them to be really well designed for the Famicom's limitations. Although I did find the first half of the game to be pretty easy. Admittedly, some of that might be experienced with other versions of Dragon Spirit, but looking it over, I don't think the stages introduced any of the real challenging complications or enemies until about stage 4 or 5. Dragon Spirit is a game with a lot of power-ups. There are 2 ways that you can find power-ups. First, any flashing enemy will drop a power-up, and these power-ups can be anything. You'll also spot eggs on the ground, and the blue eggs always release a power-up for your dragon's body, while the red eggs always release a power-up for your attack. The simplest body power-up is to grow an extra head. You can have up to 3 heads, and of course each head spits fire. Getting hit knocks off one of your heads, unless of course you're down to 1. Although you only have 1 small life bar in Dragon Spirit, you can take 3 hits before you die, so it's just like the arcade. You can also get the S icon, and that shrinks your dragon down. You're harder to hit, but it also reduces your firepower. This icon causes 2 mini dragons to fly alongside you. For both the mini dragons and the small size, collecting a head power-up causes you to lose those. Collecting this icon increases the strength of your breath weapon. There's 4 levels of firepower, and at the highest level, you gain auto-fire. This icon turns your dragon silver and gives you a spread shot, and you can upgrade this form with multiple heads. Collecting this icon will turn you into a green dragon with much stronger fire breath. There's a few more power-ups. This icon will speed you up. There's 4 levels to it, and I didn't feel like I was out of control at maximum speed, so I'd recommend always picking them up. You could also power up your bomb so that it causes an earthquake every time it strikes. The earthquake destroys all ground-based enemies, and the power-up only lasts a short time. The heart is simple enough, it just restores some of your health. And finally, this icon will make you invincible for a while. That is a lot of different power-ups to cram into one Famicom game. There is one icon you have to be aware of. If you see a skull icon, that will reduce your power level by 1. And the skull icons will chase you down. At the end of every stage is a boss, and they're usually defeated with your regular aerial attack. There's really only one exception to this. Most of the bosses are the kind of enemies that are only vulnerable for a short period while they're attacking. So just keep moving and firing. If you're fully powered up, they'll just melt away. But if you're not at full power, you could be pounding on them for quite a while. After you defeat the boss, if you fulfill a condition or get lucky, then a Shrine Maiden will appear and talk to you. Half of them appear if you weren't fully powered up when you defeated the boss, and the other half appear at random. And they all either restore some of your health, or give you an extra life. You're given 3 lives and 3 continues with which to beat Dragon Spirit, but there are some cheat codes. If you hold down A, B, and up on the second player controller, then hit reset, it'll take you to this sound test where you can listen to the really great music from the game. While here, on the second player controller, hit up, up, B, down, down, B, and that causes a second set of numbers to appear, and you can use the second player controller to choose a starting level. Finally, pressing and holding A and B on the second player controller and starting the game will give you 20 lives to beat the game with. I'm not really sure 20 lives will help you that much, since the game is checkpoint based and you can go back quite a ways when you die. I like Dragon Spirit a lot, but I don't play the Famicom version very often. That's because I think the PC Engine version is better, or at least closer to the arcade. That said, there's absolutely nothing wrong with the Famicom version. This is a really great port of a great arcade game. It's definitely the best game with Dragon in the title that Namco released in April of 1989.